So
Okay.
if you want to walk me again through just the idea of how you got started and how you found your niche.
Sure. So, I mean, the first company was just a drop shipping company, which was my first kind of experience into marketing online, essentially. And that's when I was 18 and just drop shipping from wholesalers through eBay, a couple hundred laptops a day for about 2.5, 3 months. And so that was kind of my first taste of how you can actually distribute and make decent money online. And then I went on to college and didn't really do too much entrepreneurial stuff, really, of any consequence, anyway. But I did study marketing while doing IT stuff for the school I went to, which is Washington State University, and helped them build video broadcasting systems that replaced their traditional coax cable for TV and things of that nature. So I was always kind of technically inclined. I'm not a developer by any stretch, but I understood how those kind of systems worked. And then after college, I went and was actually an account manager for a company here in Seattle that did digital curriculum for high schools and managed about 1.6 million in renewal accounts for high schools, which that was my kind of like real money management, renewal management, recurring revenue management as well. And I did that for about 9 months until I just like really couldn't hack the cubicle lifestyle and really had to go do something for myself again. And so I went and I was working with some best-selling authors and speakers and helping them launch their next books, manage their JV and affiliate programs. Since I had dealt with some recurring revenue and had the aptitude to do that. And so I did that for about a year.
Who'd you work with, if I may ask?
Well, one of them was like Laurel Langemeier. I don't know if you've heard of her before.
Yeah, I have. I know who that is.
Yeah, and there's a couple other speakers and authors in there I worked with as well. And so I actually helped Laurel launch her last book, which did become New York Times bestselling, Amazon bestselling, all that kind of good stuff. Granted, she had a good audience built in to do that, but a lot of it came from this big like planning for what we called like the summit. And so every week we had an interview with someone else in her space, and they would mail to the interview through an affiliate link. And so that would both sell books and get them into sales funnel for her events. And then I also managed an ad buy for her on LinkedIn as well as some other places to help her do user acquisition. And while that was working out great for her, I was like, okay, well, this isn't something that I have an asset for, right? So I was working with her under a contract basis. And I knew that I wanted to build my own email list because I now fully saw the power and potential of what an email list could do. I had been capturing emails on my blog, but it was only like a couple hundred people. I never really had gone all out and put my full weight behind it. And so I wanted to try to find a way to give me explosive email growth quickly. And I found that the quickest way to get consumer interest and excitement about what you're doing and get people to kind of pay attention and give you their email was a contest. So I started researching the different contest options, and there's quite a few options out there. We're one of many. And there was essentially two buckets that people fell into at the time. One was people who just did contest software for the sake of being contest software. And businesses know they want to run a contest, but a lot of times they don't actually know why. The why is really to build an email list. They don't know that necessarily instinctively, especially for small brick and mortar businesses, right? They want to run a contest for potentially to raise awareness, generate some buzz, but there's not really a way for them to easily see their ROI because they're not really asking the right questions. So that's one bucket. The other bucket that people were in was point-based, but it was usually a system that rewarded users with points for taking micro social actions, but they asked each user kind of this infinite funnel of things to do, right? Like us on Facebook share us on Facebook every day, tweet us every day.
Yeah, that gets annoying.
Write 6 blog posts, do 17 YouTube videos. Like, it just was this endless rabbit hole. And what I found from taking a look at case studies with that kind of software is the kind of people that would actually participate had lots of time, but no social influence, which meant no real list, like explosive list growth for your company, which is the most valuable thing in my opinion, and has been proven through like many, many case studies that the email list is where it's at.
Absolutely.
And so I set out with just a couple $1,000s, and a couple thousand of that was even on a credit card, to hire a developer to build me the WordPress, the very simple WordPress plugin that I wanted. So I built it, and I knew I would at least have one customer, right? It'd be me. And so I used it, and I'm like, hey, this is actually pretty great. I bet other people would want this too. And so I packaged it together a little bit and just emailed it to like the first couple hundred people that were on my email list. And I made like $600. And I was like, holy cow, that worked. That was really easy from a couple $100. And I had a few, JV and affiliate relationships just from being in that space for a while. And so I had a few friends mail to it, and then we each made $1,000. And I was like, okay, that works pretty well. And then I had a few other friends that were into affiliate marketing full time, and they were like, hey, you really have to launch on the Warrior Forum. You really have to launch this internet marketing space. They would eat up this kind of plugin. It's an easy way to jumpstart your market. And every time I saw it, I had a big hesitation. I was like, I hate that market. I don't like the forums. It looks ugly. The people on there are saying amazingly ignorant things. Yeah. I don't know. I had a bunch of apprehension, but I didn't want to do it. And then he pulled up his PayPal account, and I was like, okay, I'm in. And so through various connections, I ended up actually talking to someone who consequently is one of the bigger power sellers on the Warrior Forum. This was actually almost exactly a year ago, because we launched April 20th last year on the Warrior Forum. And out of the gate, we sold a couple thousand copies the first day, got, WSO of the day, all the things that you want to happen in that marketplace. And so I had my first, many tens of thousands in revenue. And then even after expenses and paying out all the partners, I made more than I usually made in months of effort in like 24 hours. I was like, wow, this distributed idea works really, really well, right? You can reach a lot of people at a low price point. That's pretty interesting to me. And then I built my first audience, right? Because now it's a couple thousand buyers that are on my email list. So at that point, my email list basically constituted just buyers, right? Like 98% of them were buyers. And so I was able to promote other things that were, complementary to it without emailing someone every day. I would do maybe 1 or 2 campaigns a month. But that kind of instant success, while it was moderate in the internet marketing world, the normal tech world hadn't really understood this microcosm of the forums, that this was possible. And so even though I didn't have the biggest ever forum launch, because I was partly rooted in like the normal tech space, it got me interviews on Mixergy and other places where it got me really exposed to kind of who I really wanted in the first place from a client perspective. And so we were able to continue our ramp up on the plugin. And I realized pretty much right away, like, this is great, but 2 things are going to happen. A, it's a pretty simple plugin. And if it only took me, for my first time of my own product owner, $6,000 to figure it out, someone else can either figure it out for less money or leverage their existing audience. I will be copied, period. And second of all, being a WordPress plugin, it was just going to be one-time money, and that wasn't a business. That was basically a high-paid job that I could continue to go out and hustle affiliates and JVs, but at some point, it would at best flatline, at worst decline.
Right.
And so one of my first customers that was in that first couple hundred people that bought was actually this really skilled developer who used to live in the Seattle area, and I'm in the Seattle area, and at the time he was actually living in Louisville, Kentucky. And he had bought it before the big launch happened, and then he saw the big launch, and he's like, hey, we should talk. I'm actually thinking about coming to the Seattle area anyway. Let me talk to you on one of my next trips out there. I come to find out he's like a SaaS developer, which is software as a service for those who don't know. And I was interested in going to SaaS. I thought that we could, if I found the right developer, we could really take the technology to the next level by rewriting it and taking it to the whole new level of better integrations, better fraud protection. We could have more granular control over the environments. There wasn't any WordPress, conflicts. We knew exactly what platform everyone was on. We knew that they weren't running some old version of WordPress, or all the kind of pain points that come with distributed software. Because you'd be amazed. I used to log into people's admin in WordPress, and they would have like 200 active plugins, which is just like crazy.
Right. We went
so there was
through
no
that same
control.
issue.
Yeah, there was no control over the environment. Anyway, we talked, and I come to find out that he has built, scaled, and exited from like multi-million-dollar SaaS companies before. And he was totally on board with the mission that we had, which was to become the de facto contest platform kind of in the space, period. And so quietly, about 10 months ago now, we went to work on what is